Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the WorkNet to Page Virtual Job Club. I'm Jim Fergal, I'm the facilitator, and today the topic is going to be why I believe in Santa Claus, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but I figure it's the holiday season, so a little holiday story of job searching during the holidays. I'm the manager of Job Seeker and Veteran Services for WorkNet to Page. Amy Ulo is our marketing manager. Jennifer Wegeman is co-facilitating today. She'll be monitoring the chat room. She's a workshop facilitator, and another facilitator would be Javon Morris. Those of you who are new, we are funded by the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, or WIOA grant. We run a virtual job club. Starting in January, we will do 2 per month, the second and last Fridays of the month. We should have some good things coming up. We're going to have a manufacturing panel discussion. We're going to have a healthcare panel discussion, an IT and logistics supply chain, one each month. And we get employers in to talk about trends in the industry to help you figure out where the jobs are and what you need to do to prepare. If you go to our website, there's a Get Started form. Once you are eligible for the grant, that's why you have to fill out the application. We do offer workshops for clients who are registered. We do have training grants up to $10,000, depending on the certification. And we have a layoff to launch workshop every Tuesday at 9:30. So you can go to our website, WorkNet to Page, and sign up for that workshop if you are new. They will discuss how you can qualify, how to continue to receive unemployment while you are in training, and you don't have to pay it back. The only thing we ask is that you let us know when you get a job, the type of job and salary, because our return on investment is we have to report back to Congress on how many people are getting jobs, what type of jobs and salaries. That's how we keep the program funded. So, little Zoom. I think we've done Zoom enough to know, just be polite and courteous. Nothing hostile in the chat rooms. I'm going to take any comments or questions in the chat. If you want to mention something or have a question about what I'm talking about, or something hits a plug, that's fine. Put it in the chat room. And just mute your microphones, and I will call on people if they have questions. We are going to do a PSA, public service announcement. Jennifer, if you would come on board, please.
Sure. This is Jennifer Wegeman. Good morning, everyone. Happy holidays. Glad you're here with us. On a less holiday joyous note, there are many job scams going on right now, and you have to be extremely careful because they're, preying on the vulnerability of people that need jobs. So you're going to pick up that phone call, you're going to talk to somebody, and they're going to tell you, oh, we really want to hire you right away. And, don't give private information to someone you don't know who you're talking to. Verify and then trust, because they're going to tell you things. They're going to try and get this information out of you, and it's very elaborate, some of it. So just verify who you're speaking with, call companies directly, if you need to, but just hang up. That's the best advice I can give you. But we've had several clients of ours, people that we've heard about that have been scammed. They've gotten their private information stolen, and that's no fun. So I just wanted to make sure you're aware. We're going to be doing a job club in January, and I'll be talking about job scams at that time. Thanks.
Thank you, Jennifer. Just so you know, even Jennifer and I, our organization, we got hit by scams all the time. I think last week or a week and a half ago, I had something come in through my email that wanted me to approve some voucher, which I never have to. And I start looking, you have to look at the email address, and it was some bizarre name and an AOL.com. And I said, oh, this is trouble. So just keep your radar up. We got to do it. Sometimes I found I get bizarre notifications. They try to say they found me on LinkedIn. One was for, well, we saw your application for a supply chain, and we thought you might be interested in this position. I'm like, I'm not in supply chain. So if it doesn't make sense to you, just be leery, just hit delete. Um, I know you're looking for positions and you're anxious, but trust your gut. If it seems weird, delete it. Save yourself the trouble of everything else that can go wrong. Okay, well, let's get started here. So, this story, why I believe in Santa Claus, originally started a long time ago when I started taking over the job clubs about um, my own job search and the ups and downs of job search, as well as conducting a job search during the holidays. And so I'm going to tell my tale interspersed with other people's tales, and we'll talk about job searching during the holidays as well. So I can remember when times were good. A lot of you know I was a former Army officer. I was stationed in Germany. My wife and I got married before we went there. We had 5 great years. Times were good. We were definitely too materialistic, to say the least. I remember my German neighbors going, "Oh my gosh, you bought so much." Well, tax free and all that stuff. And so times were good. I never thought about Santa Claus, I just took him for granted, that he was always there. I always had these great memories of the holiday season and things like that. But boy, when times were tough, and they were tough, man, uh, I came back to the States during a recession in December, uh, trying to find a job then. Uh, Not to mention, I remember my mom saying, I can't believe you don't have a job yet. And this was like, I'd been back in the States a month. And, I'm still trying to figure out where all my furniture and clothes are somewhere in transit, plus find a place to live. So as time went on, uh, I probably one, two, three, four. I probably had 4 or 5 different career changes. Laid off several times over the holidays. I used to work for the unemployment office. They laid me off 2 holidays seasons, like Thanksgiving, uh, and then twice, Thanksgiving and Christmas. Ironically, I did get hired over the Christmas season. That's later in the story. So when times were tough, you know, I I really became a Scrooge as far as Christmas. I didn't want to go to family events. I didn't want to go to my wife's events through her work. Uh, and I remember distinctly, uh, my older son was born in the beginning of January. So I'd been laid off. I got hit with a COBRA payment of, well, you all know, of $10 million. Well, COBRA is a lot. And I think I had to pay 1 or 2 months. I can't remember, but it was a phenomenal amount. And I'm sitting at a stoplight. My kid's birthday's coming up. I have no money. It's a miserable day. and sleeting and dreary. I'm at a stoplight, and I just start to cry, just from the stress. And my son, my older son, went through all of my layoffs, for 5, 7 years. And he just says, "Dad, what's wrong?" And I just said, "I lost a job. Your birthday's coming up. We have Christmas, and uh, you know, I'm sad." And one of the things I found is just being upfront with the kids. Just say, "Hey, this is going on. This is why I'm acting crazy." Doesn't justify it, but at least have a little idea of I'm going through job search and it's tight. As a matter of fact, I did employ my older son when he was in preschool to let all the kids know that I was looking for a job so that they would go back to their parents and tell them that I was looking for a job. Bizarre, right? But I gave them skin in the game. I said, "Hey, if I get a job, we can go to Toys R Us," right? Now, throughout the Christmas seasons, especially when I was going through I think it was like 7 to 10 years of change. Uh, and, just like Charlie Brown here, I think there must be something wrong with me. Christmas is coming. I'm not happy. I don't feel the way I'm supposed to feel. It's out of sync. I don't want to see anyone. I didn't even want to get out of the house sometimes. And so these were things I was feeling. And I know there's a lot of times when I talk with everyone one-on-one, especially when I was doing resumes or especially in workshops face-to-face over the years. There's a certain amount of embarrassment about being laid off or not having a job, uh, mainly because we think, as Americans, we associate our personality or who we are, our being, with our jobs probably too much, way too much. Uh, Living with the Germans for 9 years, two different times. They work hard, they party hard, but their work life was just they didn't talk about it. As a matter of fact, when I was going through all my layoffs, the Germans used to have jobs for life, kind of like how we used to. And all of a sudden, they started getting laid off, and they didn't know how to react. And I'd get letters from them saying, "Oh, Gert got laid off, and he doesn't know what to do, and he's the first one in our group." So there's a certain amount of embarrassment because our work ethic says you got to have a job. I also felt anger too because my promotion board to major became rift boards, and I got laid off. And I was angry, and I remember some colonel saying to me, "If you're going to hang around here as a civilian, you're going to see people get promoted that you're going to say, 'Wow, how did they get promoted and not me?'" And throughout the holidays, I used to get angry. Why don't I have a job? Why can't I figure out what to do? Really went into isolation a lot sometimes. Just there's a tendency to cocoon. I'll talk about that in a little bit as well. And certainly feeling frustrated. You send out resumes, especially now you're applying online, and you don't hear back. Uh, the companies are overwhelmed with resumes. Of course, when you apply for a job, you're the best qualified for the job. How can they not see it? And a lot of times, we don't understand how to tailor our resumes, either back in the day or even now. So I knew Santa Claus was out there. I knew he was. I just couldn't figure out where uh, and what he was doing. Uh, I thought, and this is where arrogance comes into play, that as an Army officer, I should just walk into a place, fill out an application, and get hired on the spot. Because that's how it was before I went in the Army. High school, college, you filled out an application or a friend referred you, you got hired on the spot. When can you start? I remember going to a factory one day and just filling out an application. They said, "Can you start tonight?" I said, "Well, yeah." It just, but now it wasn't like that. And I just figured, Even my mom said to me, "Gosh, you should find a job easily." Well, she was a Catholic school teacher. She walked one block to work. Everyone knew her in the neighborhood, and there was no effort on her part. But now it was everything was changing. Uh, the Army told me where to go, what to do, how to do it, uh, and I told other people, where to go, what to do, and how to do it. And now I had no structure. I didn't know how to do job search. Uh, so, and the other thing uh, was that I had left one culture, the military culture, where rank and medals and awards and letters of recommendation all meant something. But now I was in the civilian world and they didn't mean anything. So I figured, wow, gosh, I wandered and I wandered the wilderness for a long time. Um, I had no direction. I had no purpose. I was just out there. And I felt like I was driving through a blizzard and I couldn't see anywhere. I couldn't see ahead. I couldn't see behind, left or right. Uh, you can barely see 10 feet in front of your window, whether it's fog or a blizzard. That's what the job search was like. Who knew? I didn't know which way to go or even what to do with a resume. Uh, During my different job searches, and certainly during the recessions, is a lot of people were laid off. I've heard of a lot of people being laid off. You know, I was just one of many out there who were laid off. And this is how I felt, and maybe how some of you feel, is you're the only one out there who's laid off. And you're walking alone through this desolate landscape, uh, not knowing which way to go, what to do, what jobs are available. So let's talk about the wilderness. And this is how I felt, like this little snowman here, losing his head. It's off. So there's a couple things that happen in the wilderness. They call it the in-between time. Uh, William Bridges in Transition calls it the neutral zone. All new beginnings start with endings. You lost your job, you're going to start a new one. But it's that in-between time that's the toughest. I call it the job search wilderness. Sometimes in different workshops, I also call it the unemployment land. But I ran across some articles and I was able to sift through, and this is what I came up with. The first thing is you're being tested. All the great prophets in history, religious leaders, and even other leaders went through this time of trial and tribulation, testing their resolve to get on. I mean, if you think about this time of year, George Washington at Valley Forge, the army was pretty much defeated. I mean, some of the soldiers had no shoes and leaving bloody footprints in the snow. And many a time, George Washington, was probably like, "What am I doing?" That's the self-doubt comes in. But it also tested the steel of him and his men and women that were there as well, to test them and to make them stronger for the challenges that were coming up. And that's what's happening to you right now. It's also a time of preparation. You're preparing for some new adventure and you're going out on these different interviews, you're talking to people, you're actually trying to find out, well, what's the right environment for me? Uh, you're also testing companies to see if it's right for you and the right positions. So you're being prepared for something in the future. Uh, I'm doing this workshop today talking about my past because I remember when I got passed over for major, which meant I was going to get rifted out of the Army, reduction in force. I said to my wife, I said, there's got to be a reason for this. This is going to come into play somewhere. And here I am years later, and yeah, I'm using all these experiences now to help guide you through this time of transition. And the third thing that happens is purification. And I cast metal soldiers and put on demonstrations. And so what you do is you have the metal and you put it in a small pot. You have a mold and you melt the metal down. The fire is the friction, you know, it's, if you want to call it the economy, which melts down this metal. Well, as the metal melts, what rises to the top is called slag, impurities, and I have to scrape them off before I pour the metal into the mold so I have a pure figure. Well, right now, it's the same thing for you. You're purifying yourself. Sometimes you have to get rid of the old messages that you told yourself. Uh, also, uh, the old ways of finding a job, some of them don't work. Jennifer was on and you can jump in, Jennifer, and talk about this. Yesterday, she was on a webinar, or Wednesday, about someone doing resumes and for the state, and they didn't even talk about the applicant tracking system. Is that right, Jennifer?
Yes, it was, she kind of passed over that whole last 10 years of applicant tracking systems, but she was saying, hey, you got to get into the 21st century. And I'm like, well, you just passed over a big chunk of what's going on now. I don't know. Maybe she just didn't want to get into it, but it was interesting.
Yeah, so a lot of the things, as we're talking about resumes, is the old way of doing resumes. We have to change that. And you take in new information and then you adapt that new information to the current marketplace. Excuse me. Coal on the stocking. I remember my boys were young, and I think for St. Nick's Day or something, I put a bag of charcoal at the fireplace for them. And they said, well, I guess you could use it for your grill. I said, well, you know, time to straighten up your act. Well, one of the things is you can turn negatives into positives. You might have, I'm sure all of us have had jobs we've hated, bosses we didn't like, coworkers we didn't like, situations. But what you want to look at is, what have I learned from this? And sometimes it, you know, if you can write down your experiences, you know, what was good, what was bad about the jobs that I've had in the past, you can start identifying the pluses and minuses of companies as you walk in there. Because having been in sales twice, you know, one of the things I get real scared and start looking for the door is you have to invest your money to make money, and you have the potential to earn six figures. Okay, those are two questions I hear, and then I start asking, okay, who in here is making six figures? Why do I have to invest money right now? What are we talking about? And the other thing is I start looking at tenure. Okay, the person next to me I'm getting along with on my first day of work, next day, my second day of work, that person's gone. So I'm looking at high turnover. So what have I learned is how to persevere, how to look at my own stuff, my own job, and what can I learn from others. Friction in the job search. Murphy's Law. I was watching a plane take off. I happened to be in the flight path Wednesday night. And I'm thinking, wow, you know, you need resistance, you need friction in order for that plane to fly. It just seemed to be moving so slowly. But friction is what gets it to fly. And the other thing that happens, and you all know this, if you leave for some place or an interview late, you catch every light, right? You leave early, you get all the green lights and you arrive there 45 minutes early. But the friction is things start to compound themselves. And it's just wild, but this is stuff that happens. And this friction, uh, actually, Clausewitz on war was where I got this from, is he calls it the fog of war. We could call it the fog of the job search, in that, once you step out that door to go to an interview, or once you turn on your computer, you can prepare all you want. I got stuff on a big foam board in front of me. I have, the workshop, I have everything out, but it's all improv. Once we start, once I hit record, everything's improv, and I have to adapt. And so do you in the interviews, you have to adapt. So when bad things happen, you have three choices. You can let it define you, you can let it destroy you, or it can strengthen you. I remember when I first started, one of the Xerox refurbishing plants in Oak Brook closed. And there were people who'd been there 20, 25 years, no high school. Some only had an eighth grade education, making $28 an hour. Now, at that time, the economy was starting to turn and everyone needs a bachelor's. They had to go back to school to re-educate themselves, and computers were starting to become big. And the group, different members from Xerox, would meet to keep each other going. But this one guy, we were sending him to computer school for the Trade Act. And he just said, screw it. I don't want to learn computers. I don't get it. I don't understand. He just had this mental block. And he just said, screw it. I'm not going to look for the job anymore. And he was only like 50. And I'm like, wow. So uh, you are going to be frustrated. You are going to go through this. Bad things are going to happen. Uh, but you pull through. It always seems darkest uh, in the night before the dawn, the sun rises. Which brings us to hope. Um, I heard Zig Ziglar say this: where there's no hope, there's no action. Where there's hope, there's action. My younger son, Mark, had asthma, and he was hospitalized when he was 4 or 5. And he's the type of kid that watches them give shots or stick stuff in their arms. He's fascinated by it. Well, one of my wife's friends was there when they were giving him the IV, sticking it in his hand. And she was squirming. She said, I can't look at this. So, on the way home from the hospital, he says to my wife, Ma, Lisa's not very brave. And my wife goes, what do you mean? She says, well, she couldn't look at them putting the IV in. But for me, I have to be brave because I have hope that what they're giving me is going to be helpful and get rid of this asthma. So it's easier to be brave when you have hope. And I hope my wish is that all of you have hope that something's going to come around there. I can't say when. I can't say what's going to happen to me an hour from now, but you just have hope that things are going to work out. And that's your little light. That's what guides you in the darkness. You also learn gifts of patience and humility. I always joke that my patience is like a hummingbird's wings. I want stuff and I want it now. So, and you send in an application or you apply online. Boy, that you want them to interview you and you want the job within 2 days. It doesn't always happen like that. It doesn't happen in your time. Even after interview, I knew one guy, he interviewed through networking before they officially did the interviewing. And it was like 2-3 months before he heard any word. He even saw the job advertised, and he said to his contact in the company, what are they, I thought I had a good interview. She says, well, you did. The guy really likes you, the hiring manager, but they have to go through this formality. And after 3 months is when he got hired. So you have to look at what can you control and what can't you. And the other thing is humility. Um, I mentioned earlier arrogance. I was an Army officer and stuff like that. And, you know, you have certain privileges, you live a certain lifestyle. And then I was in this job club. Actually, I went through all these workshops during one of my layoffs from unemployment. So I'm in there with guys from Sears and Motorola and Encyclopedia Britannica, senior level people and some administrative assistants. And some of these guys were like, why are we in here with these admin assistants? We should have our own executive club. And over the years, I've thought about that. And when people have said that to me, I was like, well, you're all making the same amount of money right now, which is zero. And the admin assistants might have the contact of the person you're trying to get to in that company. And then you can provide the admin assistance with those skills that really see that they have that are important to you as a manager. So this is one of the things I've learned over the years is making a career journal, taking different assessments, and everything that's a component of your life up until now, your narrative, if you will, your story. We start with people, all the people in your life that you've worked with, your friends, your family, your values, very important. I remember when I sold insurance, my branch manager wanted all of us to sell insurance as an investment. I said, wait a second, that's illegal. And I wouldn't do it. Luckily, I had a registered representative where I could sell investments, but I sold our investments, not insurance. And he was angry at me. Well, after I left selling insurance, that company had a huge nationwide lawsuit against them because of how they were marketing insurance. The environments, look at what workplaces you enjoyed, inside, outside, um, nice cushy office, maybe in a motor pool or maintenance shop or in a factory, uh, whatever it is. Your travels, I've met people that have worked on 6 continents. I've even had someone come through the workshop that was in Antarctica as a network engineer. Start looking at your talents and skills. ONET online, great place to start looking at that. ONET online. And Jennifer, if you can type that in for me in the chat room, ONET online. Personality assessments. There's a free personality assessment. I'm going to type it in now. I found it last week, 16 personalities, I believe, .com. It's a free assessment. You get your Myers-Briggs. Look at your interests. What do you do when you're not working? And then also your jobs. Because what you're looking for is the theme, okay? What is the theme? And what's the pattern? And as you can see, this pattern is the Big Dipper, right? In the sky. And it leads to what? The North Star. What's your North Star? Okay. What motivates you? Where do you get your energy from? Okay. And your North Star guides you to your North Pole, what you're supposed to be doing. So it turned out that DuPage Workforce Development Division became my North Pole. I had done different assessments. I worked with career counselors. One of the things that I wanted to do, I worked through What Colors Your Parachute with a career counselor, was that I wanted to work with people from other countries, uh, maybe doing import, export, just something. I wanted to work, you know, with international type of things. So I linked in with my career counselor, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago, and she remembered me. And I said, this is going to be weird. But when we worked through What Colors Your Parachute, this is what my ultimate goal was. And I said, now I'm teaching job search workshops where a half, 2/3, sometimes 3/4 of the workshop are people from other countries, other cultures, and I just enjoy it. And it's just, it becomes my North Pole. I want you to think about epiphanies, these sudden flashes or moments of revelation. And think about these times when you thought, or when time disappeared. They call it moments of flow. And you have these little insights, nanoseconds of, oh, I was meant to do this. I can't believe they're paying me to do this. Where did the time go? I was teaching a workshop, um, job search workshop years ago. And all of a sudden, in the middle of the workshop, I was answering a question, and I saw everyone, oh, okay, get it. And I said, wow, this reminds me of when I was a basic training company commander. I was training soldiers for war. Essentially, that's what basic training was about, basic soldier skills. And I said, now here I am teaching job seekers for corporate warfare, job search warfare, to go into battle every day, uh, into the unknown, to try and find the right positions. And I've had several of those over time. And I'm like, wow, they're guiding lights. And you start to string these together. High school, one of my friend's mom said, oh, you'd be a great social worker, or counselor. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'll probably go in the army. Well, when I look at the theme, remember the Big Dipper? Everything was throughout my life has been about helping people and counseling. So you're looking for those themes and these epiphanies. Oh, here's the curse: isolation. Uh, it's like cocooning. You don't want to get up out of bed. Don't want to talk to people. Oh, woe is me. And I didn't even want to talk to my friends. Uh, and I remember one of my friends reached out to me, and he said, you don't have a job right now. And this guy lived a fast lane. I'm telling you, you know, fast cars, fast women, fast life. And of course, he's dead now. He died at 50. But he said to me when I was in the midst of all my layoffs, I would give my whole lifestyle, all of my money to have what you have. I said, what do I have? He says, you have a beautiful wife, you have 2 beautiful children, and you have a wonderful, warm house. I don't have that. I'll never have that. And that was so much more than a ton of gifts, and everything else was just acknowledging what I do have and not worrying about what I don't have. And I have to remember that all the time. And as and life happens. All of you know that. Your spouses, significant others, kids, things happen in life, and you learn to appreciate more what you have. Christmas is very simple for me now. We have a tree up with some lights, just because of some of the things that I went through with the boys and myself. Just reach out to people. You see, what fear does is it removes you, and you can't share yourself with other people. And when you can't share, you might have ideas that one idea might help someone today. So people are important. These gifts of people in your life are important. And you don't know where someone's going to help you. I remember not wanting to go to my wife's Christmas parties. She was a nurse, go to a hospital Christmas party, they're doctors, nurses. And I was like, how are they going to help me? Well, you know what? They're all married or brought significant others who had nothing to do with the medical field. And I'll tell you one thing, I know with COVID, you're not going to get out much. But if we ever have human contact again, hang out by the coffee, hang out by the bar. I just found that hanging out where people congregate, uh, you just talk to people. I'm very quiet, shy, introverted, but I would just ask them, hey, what do you think about the party? What do you think about the band? What brought you here today? Uh, and that's how you start conversations. Next thing I know, they're giving me advice on where to look for positions. Now, here's a nice exercise for you to do for yourself. Draw a circle, put a little stick figure in there, and put your name next to that stick figure. And then inside the circle, you put the names of family, friends, neighbors, coworkers, managers, teammates, LinkedIn contacts, other job seekers that help you, that you have contact with. These are your blue chips, as someone once called them. Now, outside the circle, you put these people who sabotage you, the crazy makers, family, friends, neighbors, coworkers, okay? These are the people that help you. There's one of my friends who helps me with my hobby, making frames. He's a carpenter. We help each other. We ricochet into each other's life at different periods of time. Uh, Sometimes we can go a year and a half without seeing each other, and then all of a sudden, boom, we see each other for 6 months intensely, and then we disappear again. You know, it just, you pick up where you're left off. But we help each other out. Now, the value of people, you're over here on the right, you're trying to look at, we'll just call it a present. You're looking at your gifts, you're looking at yourself. You may have done what calls your parachute exercise, or you're trying to look at a company. Well, behind the facade, the company front door or yourself is we have, in the Army, we called it dead space, but we call it blind spots. Can't see. So where the value of people comes in is that you have these obstacles, whether they're real or imagined, that are blocking you from either seeing your gifts or trying to get into the company. And these networking contacts or people close to you can help you get through the blind spots. Excuse me. Like when I did What Colors My Parachute, I gave my top 10 skills to my wife. She actually rated me higher in some of the skills that I was like, oh, really? People see you differently sometimes than you see yourself. Also, up front here in the obstacles can also be the applicant tracking system. And you're looking for people who can see around into the company to get you to a hiring manager to get you pulled out of the applicant tracking system. Okay, let's get into the job search for the holidays. The myth is no one hires over the holidays, right? Boy, did I believe that one. And that's not true. Many job seekers have found jobs during the holidays. I myself interviewed with this organization before Thanksgiving and got hired on December 4th. There was times I was down 2 front desk staff and I had to hire over November, beginning of December, and my first candidate said no. And the second candidate, I had her starting the day after Christmas. So people hire. And the thing is, employers hire because they have a need, and their need is year round. Oops, I'm sorry. I hit the mouse here. And some company must hire in December. Hiring managers have more time during the holiday season. They have more access. You have more access to hiring managers. a lot of people pull themselves out of the job market, especially with COVID. They say, I'm not going to look for a job. There's nothing out there. So I was talking to Jennifer before I came on, and I went to our website, worknetdupage.org. The week of Thanksgiving, 3 days, on that Monday, we had 16 new jobs come in, Tuesday, 8, and the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, 16 additional jobs. So that week alone, 40 jobs came in. Since that week of Thanksgiving, we have put 95 new jobs on our website. Sentinel has 11 different jobs, Sentinel Technologies, everything from admin assistants to staff accountants to NOC engineers, business development managers. There's a manufacturing company that's looking for a manufacturing engineer, quality inspector, production assembler. Another called Acuity is looking for an IT deployment manager, NOC SOC support. There's Bridge Communities looking for a director of employment. There's warehouse positions, there's driver's positions, there's security, more manufacturer, there's healthcare. There's all different jobs out there. Check out our website. Don't get just stuck on Indeed. There's all sorts of great things. So what I have found is that I used to say, gosh, I want this now, and I want Santa to come right now. But Santa comes when you don't expect him. And this has happened several times since I've come back to the States. I got out of the Army in Germany. My job converted to civilian job. So we stayed there a couple more years and then came back during the recession in the 90s. So when I was out processing, they asked me if I wanted to be a member of a class action lawsuit against the federal government because they were taxing our housing allowance. Someone said they can't do that. And I was like, yeah, I'll sign my name. Well, years later, when I was in the midst, my plastic in my wallet was all melted together through these job searches and layoffs. There's one of these brown envelopes or orange brown envelopes in the mail from the government with a check written for that class action lawsuit to me. And I was like, oh my gosh. So we can call it Santa's money. Another time, my insurance company, my auto insurance, again, during these years of stress, we're trying to figure out how to do Christmas presents for the kids, let alone groceries and stuff. And then all of a sudden we got this check unexpected out of the blue. Yeah, it was just this type of, my wife calls it God's money. We'll call it Santa's money. But it's Santa comes, and whether it's the summer, winter, anytime, it comes when I least expect them. So a couple things here is Santa says, try to maintain a positive attitude. I really encourage you to journal. I probably got 6 or 7 books of journals. I just go to Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Blick, buy them when they're on sale, or you can go to the dollar store and get one of those, just line notebooks and just start writing stuff down. I like sketchbooks because I draw, I make pictures and make comments about what's going on in my head in different colors. It just helps me. But there's a lot of information, but you have to get it out of your head. You have to communicate what you're looking for. Talk to people. Don't just say, I just need a job or I'm laid off, things like that. My last company was a jerk and they laid me off. You know, and this is the one thing I've also learned is rather than saying, oh, I lost my job, I'm laid off, a more positive way to say this is I'm looking for my next opportunity doing whatever you do. Keep the strong work ethic, even during these times. Set a schedule for yourself. There was a big tendency for me to do the Lone Ranger mentality, do it by myself. The guy across the street was a mailman, and this kid was in my yard from 7 in the morning till 7 at night. His mom locked the door on this kid. I'm feeding him breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So my wife says, well, why don't you go over and talk to Ken, and ask him for help in the job search. He's a mailman. I said, oh, I can't do that. I'm a man. Well, within 10 seconds, my wife kicked me out of the house. I'm walking over to talk to Ken. Ken turns out to be, of course, a mailman, but his route was through industrial parks. And what do mailmen do when they're dropping off the mail? They talk to receptionists. And he was looking for jobs for me. You see, so you got to remember the Lone Ranger had Tonto and Dorothy had the Cowardly Lion and the Scarecrow, Tin Man and Toto. It's always a team effort. So don't try to do it by yourself. Problem solver, customer focused. These are what employers are looking for. They want someone to solve their problems, take care of their customers, and make them money. That's the results oriented. Develop an action plan for yourself. Anytime you leave the house, uh, depending on whether we're in lockdown or not, just be prepared to meet. If you meet someone, uh, talk to them. You're in Jewel or Costco or wherever. Take advantage of lifelong learning. Coursera was free for a while on Illinois WorkNet. I don't think it is anymore. And just always be learning. Look at your skills, your talent, education. These are all the basis. This is the foundation for you for different positions. And write out your experiences and accomplishments, problem, action, results. Perhaps our greatest weakness is not realizing our own power. All of you, and I see a comment here, all of you have most likely helped many people in the past. And that's a gift that you've helped people. But now it's your turn to offer a gift to other people. And it takes strength to ask for help. It increases your power because two people are getting gifts. One, the person you're asking for help, you are allowing them to help you. That's a gift for them. People feel good when they help others. And what also is happening is you're giving a gift to yourself of power to help you develop more strength to ask others for help. It's hard. A lot of books are written on asking for help. The Aladdin Factor is one by the Chicken Soup, the Soul guys. This is a season of anticipation, faith, hope, and gift giving. Keep your hopes up. Have faith in yourself. Again, give the gift of others. Allow them the opportunity to help you. Things I've learned. Santa doesn't come when I demand it. Again, the value of networking. Have I said that enough? Gift giving, allowing others to help. Santa comes at different times of the year. Isolation is costly, especially people closest to you. I remember a job club speaker told everyone in the job club, at the end of the meeting, go home and apologize to your family and the dog. Because, you're crazy, the stress that's on you. Santa works within me when I help others, and Santa has nothing to do with material things. Yeah. So I'll take questions in here. Uh, the code for those of you who are in the program and have counselors is Santa 1220. I am going to type that in here. Code is Santa 1220. And what you do is you send that to your counselor, and then you get credit for participating in the program today. Part of the grant is that you maintain contact with your counselor. So sending this email, you maintain monthly contact, plus you're showing you're participating in the program. This Monday, December 14th, I'm going to be present at TUG, Tri-City Career Services at the St. Charles Library. You can just Google that. There's a Zoom. I did this presentation on wrapping your gifts. Some of it was in today, but a little more detail and more websites. And that was at Holy Name Cathedral last night, Job Club. So this is open to the public. So just look at the St. Charles Library events and you can sign up there. It's for free. Let us know when you get a job. One, your story encourages others. It allows us to serve more people. As I mentioned earlier, return on investment is when you get jobs. Our metrics is 70% of the people in the program get jobs. And in my 25 years here, we've always met that metric. Otherwise, we go on probation. But we get additional money, we call it incentive monies, to serve more of the public when we make 80%. And we've always made 80% in my 20 years. So we have to report back to Congress. Let me go back here. I tell you what, I'm going to end this first. Okay, I'll try to put this in the chat. Okay, I tell you what, let me end this and let me go here. Okay. Okay, there that is in there. So I really hope all of you have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, all that good stuff. And just keep your head up. I know it gets tough out there, especially now with COVID. I personally feel that I've had, I'm working remote, but I'm on here. I have teams and stuff. But even still, I get depressed, and I found that I have to get out of the house, just do something. So it's tough. Contact friends, find a hobby, do something to take care of yourself, and just appreciate what you have. It may seem like you don't have anything, but you have a lot. Just start writing stuff down, your gratitude journal, if you will. Anyone have any questions for me? Okay. Well, you're welcome. I do this every Christmas. I just hope it works for you, and I'm wishing you the best. So take care, everybody. And recording, I did record last night. I'm going to see if I can get that posted on our website as well. All righty.